Hello, thank you for joining my presentation on the third Egypt trip that I'm making. It'll be from the 24th of October to the 4th of November. I'm Billy Moore. I'm the coordinator for this trip. I'm working through an agency called Indus Travels. They've organized some tours for me before to China, to Peru, and to Egypt. I have a planned tour for Iceland in July. It is full. I have the one to Egypt that I planned some for 2019, hopefully to return to Egypt again at that time. I've had experience in Egypt. I lived there for 2 years, 2001 to 2002. I visited and explored Cairo numerous times, the Giza pyramids and others visited, crawled on, climbed in. Nile River cruise, I've had two of those, most recently in November. I've had diving and exploring expeditions into the Sinai. Beautiful water, beautiful country. And I've had over 10 visits to Sharm el Sheikh while I lived there. Like I say, the Egypt tours were in 2015 and 2017. The primary difference in 2015, we used some time to visit St. Catherine's Monastery in central Sinai, and we climbed Mount Sinai. This tour, the tour in 2017 and the tour coming up, will be a riverboat cruise on the Nile. In Sinai, we enjoy 4 days at Sharm el Sheikh. We get to visit Ras Mohammed National Park, possibility of going out to Tyran Island off the coast of Saudi Arabia for some sightseeing and some snorkeling if one desires. There'll be many opportunities for events while we're in Sharm el Sheikh, enjoying Old Sharm at night, desert dinner, a visit to Mount Sinai for those wishing to go up there on an excursion. It's quite exciting there. In Cairo, we'll spend 2 days there and visit the Giza pyramids, the Egyptian Museum, and the Khan el Khalili. Khan el Khalili is an old shopping town in central Cairo, and it's pretty unique. On the Nile River, we'll travel by riverboat from Luxor to Aswan on a 4-day cruise. We'll get to visit all the sites along the Nile, including Karnak and Valley of the Kings, many more temples. Here's the tour itinerary. Departing JFK on the 24th of October at 18:30 for an overnight flight straight to Cairo. And you can see, you can stop the slideshow here and look at the itinerary if you like. But basically, we're there until the 4th of November, and we'll return, arriving back at JFK at 15:25. Our route of, our route of flight is straight across the Atlantic to Cairo, nonstop, about 10.5 hours. Once we arrive, we'll be traveling on down to Luxor at that time and not waste a day in Cairo. We'll get right on our riverboat. We'll be flying on a Boeing 777-300, a state-of-the-art passenger aircraft. Egypt Air is quite accomplished. They serve 5 continents. You can see the configuration of the plane that we'll be flying in below the picture of the plane. It's 3-4-3 seating. I'll have some recommendations on seating for those that go along. We'll have 4 in-country flights. As I said, we'll be going down to Luxor first, riverboat down to Aswan, then back to Cairo for a very short turnaround to go on to Sharm el Sheikh for 4 days. After Sharm el Sheikh, we'll return to Cairo for 2 days so we can tour the sites there. You'll see the mileage there on the right. Each of those flights will be an hour or less, and they'll be aboard the plane you see pictured here. Here's our flight schedule. You can stop it here if you want to take a closer look at it. The Nile River is a beautiful scene. The green along the Nile River is about a quarter-mile stretch toward the sand dunes and the mountains, and it's quite scenic. The longest river in the world, and it flows north from the heart of Africa into the Mediterranean Sea. Here's a shot of our riverboat. We'll either be on this riverboat or one just like it. If you want to see more of the boat, just let me know, and I can give you a link to view the interior and the sun deck on this boat. Here's our gang on a November cruise. Swimming pool on board. Not much use, but it cools you off if it's too hot. But as you can see, the way some of us are dressed, it's not too hot. The perfect weather in Egypt is during the period that we'll be there. Here's some river views. You can see our sun deck here in the lower right. And we'll visit, in Luxor, we'll visit Karnak Temple. That's one of the main sites. Quite impressive, and it's quite a large area that we'll be visiting there. And we'll go out to the Valley of the Kings and visit some sites there. You'll see a temple here that we'll spend some time at. This is while we're still in Luxor before we sail south on the Nile. During our time on the Nile and headed south, we'll stop at temples along the way. Edfu is one such example. Quite impressive. And Kamambo is another one we'll stop at. We actually pull up right alongside these historic sites and walk off the boat into the temples. And once we finish up the cruise, we'll be down in Aswan, and we'll get to tour some temples there, and probably go down and see the high dam that's built to hold the river back. You can see here the Sinai Peninsula on the right. We'll be spending our time down at Sharm el-Sheikh, which is the red star in the right view there. And if we go down to Ras Mohammed, which is a national park, you'll see it just 20 miles to the south of Sharm el-Sheikh. A lot of people are worried about the activities, the terrorist type activities in Egypt. I just want to assure you that it's very safe there, probably safer than downtown Norfolk or Virginia Beach on the weekend. You can see where the red circle is. That's where most of the action that you hear of is occurring, the northeast part of the Sinai. We're very much separated from there by 250 miles of some desert and rugged terrain. There are few road accesses down into Sharm el-Sheikh, and each one of them has many checkpoints, and the whole desert is patrolled. Tourist protection is a top priority of the Egyptians. We'd also avoid the Libyan border in the western desert, which is way over there. We'd never even get close to that. Our hotel in Sharm is quite impressive. It's right on the beach, the Gulf of Aqaba. You can see the hotel here, and there's 1,000 pictures on the internet of the hotel. It's got quite a bit of luxury, and you'll enjoy it. It's very relaxing. The beachfront is very peaceful, and you have the opportunity to get in some of the clearest water in the world right there if you want to. Sharm nightlife is quite impressive. I may have mentioned before, Sharm is Europeans' beach resort. They go to Sharm el-Sheikh pretty much like Americans might travel down to Cancun in that area of Mexico. When we're there, there's going to be very few tourists there. We're just right after the main season. For those that go down to Ras Mohammed on one of the optional tours, very inexpensive by the way, we'll end up at the southern tip of the Sinai, and where I have the circle is probably the area we'd be snorkeling in. To the right of that circle is the Gulf of Aqaba, and to the south is the Red Sea. clearest water in the world. You can see the reef there along the shoreline. It's full of fish and color and clear water. For those that don't snorkel, there's a glass bottom boat tour that's quite impressive. If you want to snorkel, I'm going to be offering some lessons for anyone that's never snorkeled before in my pool before we go. Get you a little training so that you can put some gear on and see some of the nicest, clearest water in the world. It is better than the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. Everyone that has been to both places will say that the Red Sea is better, primarily because the beauty is right there at the coastline, not 25 miles offshore, and the water is so clear and salty in the Gulf of Aqaba and Red Sea. You'll see all of the equipment you need. You can rent it there: fins, mask, snorkel. You can also buy it down there, pretty reasonable, cheaper than you can in the States. We'll be staying in a hotel in Cairo after we leave Sharm el Sheikh. I think it's this hotel. It could change, but it's in central Cairo. We'll be able to walk to the museum if we desire, walk to the Nile River, and we'll probably need transportation to get over to the pyramids and the new museum. The old museum is very close to this hotel, but the new museum might be open by the time we get there. We're going to visit the pyramids, of course. You can't go to Egypt without a visit to the pyramids. And we'll visit the museum. This is the old museum. Not sure that the new one will be open. Hopefully it will be. If both of them are open, we'll probably get a chance to go to both. The cost is pretty reasonable. The Egyptian pound is the lowest I've ever seen it. When I lived there in 2001, 2002, it was about £6 to $1. It's 17 pounds to $1 right now. You can see the prices there. They reflect that low cost of things in Egypt right now. I'd be asking for the final payment by the 15th of July, and that's so we can lock in the air travel. We've got those 2 flights across the Atlantic, and we've got 4 flights in Egypt. We've got some hotel reservations to make too. If you need a roommate, I generally can coordinate to find you a suitable roommate. The weather, I would say, is perfect during the time we're there. Very comfortable, low humidity, no rain, very, very clear skies. There is an occasional sandstorm. Passports, your passport would need to be valid for 6 months, 6 months following your time in Egypt. Visa is no problem. We get it at the airport. It's $25 US. No immunizations required. Dress, as you would guess, conservatively. Do not discuss politics, although you'll find that that Egyptians are very interested in our politics, and you'll find that all of them love Americans. Protect yourself from the sun. Conservative swimsuits, sunglasses, hat. There will be numerous nationalities on the river cruise. Last time our boat was only about half full, so we had plenty of room. I suspect it'll be the same this time in October. Wear comfortable shoes. You're not going to do any real climbing. Access to all the sites that we go to is quite easy. Thank you for joining me here. Don't hesitate to call with any questions. Our last tour was superb. Indus really helps us coordinate and get the schedule perfect. I've had the previous 2 trips. We'll make this one the best one ever because I am modifying everything to make it even better as we go along here. 4 days on the Nile, 4 days at Sharm el Sheikh, 2 days in Cairo, and hardly any wasted time on waiting for airplanes or layovers. Thank you.